Greetings. Guess I just want to follow up. So I don't know where we're going to go. Don't really have an agenda. Just know that I want to get some fresh air. I want to walk and just allow for the spontaneity to arise. And see if we can build on some of these nuggets of wisdom that we're all searching for, because that's what improves our lives, is what we take away is more important than what we add on. So wisdom comes and it destroys error, it destroys lies. So we take away more and more lying opinions, and we begin to reveal our true nature, our true selves. And then our prosperity is there, and that includes all of our good that we're seeking. We stop seeking and we start just demonstrating what is. So don't mind me, I'm just going to take it normal. It's going to be not so much focused on teaching anything today, just focused on, I guess, sharing what comes while I'm in the receiving process myself. I guess that would be new. That's different. So receiving is as important as giving. It's a full circle. You have to have a balance. And I was telling a mentoring client of mine today that, this downtime is just as important as your active on time. The misconception is that you think you can just, go, really. Well, that's a lot of, you have the yin and the yang. That's a lot of yang, You can put yourself out there and you can exert a lot of energy into the world, but you have to balance it. And so downtime, decompression, especially in the West, the US, we have a to-do list culture. Everybody's about get her done. What'd you get done today? What'd you knock off your list? Well, that's exciting. And it is fun. It's fun to do things and knock things off our lists, but at the end of the day, if it doesn't scale, it's just a bunch of busy work, and busy work is guaranteed to get you more busy work. That's all it's guaranteed to do. Now, diametrically opposite of that is how I've achieved most of my most extraordinary victories, successes, is I've been in the relaxing and allowing aspect, what you'd call the receivership phase. And I learned this while I was bedridden, coming out of being bedridden with Lyme disease, and built one of my first mega successful companies. Is I spent most of the day in bed, but not doing the things that I wanted to be doing, think about the ultimate epitome of success. You want to spend all day in bed, right? Well, not if you're sick. That's not really the kind of bed time that you want. So yeah, I spent enough time in bed, I'll tell you that. So universe, I'm sorry. I should have been more clear in my 20s when I set the intention that I wanted to be rich because I wanted to spend all day in bed. Be careful what you ask for. Just clarify it. Clarify it a little better. No, it wasn't all so bad though. I spent a good amount of time, drawing into God. That's really how the success came. So this is what builds on the last one, is that at first I discovered the ABC break process. What I came to call it is ABC break process. I didn't know what it was back then. I just knew that it's what was working, and out of necessity, I started to have to use it, because when you're dealing with trauma was what was the predominant symptom of Lyme disease for me was, you know, it was a lot of PTSD-like trauma. In fact, I don't even have to say like, it was just a lot of PTSD. And when you're in that altered hallucination-like state, that's the right way of saying like, because it's like a hallucination, because they technically don't want to call it a hallucination, but PTSD is a hallucination, and so are the millions of other emanations of terror that comes from all of the fears that we have in our carnal reasoning, okay? Everybody's fears could be a little different, but ultimately when we're seized by fear, we're not in our right mind. That's quite literal. We're in our left reasoning, left logical brain. We're in the states of hell that go down, okay, to the lower vibrational scale within consciousness that bring about the states of hell as the erected manifestations of troubled, worrisome thought. So ABC was a way for me to break the continuity. Stop, it is not it. Could you let go for just this moment? Yes. Could you let go even more? Yes. Go to the place of peace, detach from the world, go into the imagination, find that peaceful rest. Cross over to the right side of the brain. You see, what I was doing was I was teaching myself through the structure of that technique how to interrupt the pattern of left brain dominant thinking, if you will. In layman's terms, that's what it is. In spiritual terms, it's carnal mindedness. That's where it comes from. The knowledge of this world, it's all enmity against truth. So I was teaching myself how to enter the kingdom. And so I spent a lot of time in that daydreaming-like state. And I was getting breakthroughs and I was getting epiphanies. And what happened is it was like rolling a big snowball downhill. In the beginning, for the first year, it wasn't this magical, wow, look I found a technique, all my troubles are gone. It's not that way. It's really that, hey, I spent the majority of my so-called physical life learning this terrible habit of taking thought for my life, thinking from a problem, trying to get to a solution, because the whole indoctrination system that they call school teaches you how to do that. Start from a problem, try to get to a solution. It's like, and essentially start in ignorance and then try to solve it from there. Well, the structure is the message. They're teaching you how to be subservient, okay? A slave. The whole system is designed to make you a slave to it. Okay, there, I said it. I'm just going to call it for what it is. It's a slave system. It's Babylon. What I learned is I learned the mystical passage into the Holy of Holies and into the sacred place, the secret place of the Most High. And I began using that technique as a structure several times a day. And then I decided that I could add music could be added to it to move my, emotions, which drive a lot of power into it. And I started getting demonstrations. I started getting things showing up. I started having breakthroughs. And I realized that the more I did this, something was happening. I was detaching from the ways of this world. And it was so easy for me because of the fact that the world that I knew sucked. You don't know how bad the world sucks until you have a life-threatening illness and you lose your money and you lose your friends and the world kind of casts you out as a, used up battery. When you get to that position in life, you realize that the world has nothing to offer you. It's all a facade. It's all fakery. You see all these important people with their suits on, and they could be nothing less important, nothing less authoritative, nothing less official. It's all a smokescreen. It's a facade. All this education that they've gathered in what? In ignorance. Because one moment of God's favor can do more for you than a lifetime of your own labor. But yet they teach you that the ways of this world must be adapted to, must be grasped. You must prosper in the wealth of this world. Okay, well, how's that working for you? Chances are, if it's working very well for you, then you have a high degree of corruption that you are operating from. And you probably have a high degree of, you're like on quicksand is what I mean. You're only one illness away from watching all of the deception of that quicksand reveal that it has no power to support anything that you've tried to uphold with it. So what I'm saying is, you get a life-threatening illness and all of your accolades and all of your prestige and all of your money and all these things will just vanish on you, because they're not real anyway. The kingdom is real, and the kingdom will supply you with all those, because your Father knows you have need of these things. But the kingdom is a pursuit that only the humble and the meek are granted access through by grace. You know, honor flows up and favor flows down, and grace is the key. You know, if you want to find a secret key that opens the door to your destiny, it's humility, it's humbleness before the Lord. Now you have to sort that out. You know, that's between you and God. You have to sort out your own salvation that way. And the trouble is that this world is so noisy and so polluted with all of the bread and circuses and the dog and pony show and all of these tricks and traps that keep you focused out there, trying to get something out there to you. And that dog don't hunt at the end of the day. Can you leave that to your children? Can you leave? Sure, you can leave a good name to your children. You can leave a legacy. And, you know, to some degree, it's probably better to be a prestigious somebody in the world than it is to be a pauper on the corner. However, if the pauper on the corner suddenly discovers their true self, they can have everything in a fleeting moment that you couldn't buy in this world, that you couldn't acquire if you were the highest on the food chain, if you will. Because this world is not it. You're in the world, but you're not of it. Now, I'm not trying to tell you all this because, you should just give up everything and go sit in a sandbox. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the true desires of your heart are already yours. You don't have to chase anything. You will naturally excel at what you were destined here to do. And I'm not knocking suits and dressing up nice and all that and accolades. That's you see, I'm just knocking down the pins to see if they're going to stand afterward. If you let me just take them away from you for a brief moment, and if you're okay with me taking it away from you, then you have. But if you're not okay with me stripping that from you, in other words, if you're highly offended, if I say that, suits are all a bunch of a-holes and, they cheated their way to the top and they know it, if I say something like that and it offends you, well, the chances are that's you. But if it doesn't offend you and you kind of laugh and be like, it's not me, I'd rather dress nice and be a bum, then chances are that that's not you, okay? See, you can't be provoked if you're standing in truth. You're unmoved. And so all you have to do is you have to get right with God before the bitter end. And if 2020 taught you nothing else, it should have at least brought you to the conclusion that that really is the highest aspiration here on this planet. What did you learn during lockdown? What did you gather when everything changed. When the musical chairs stopped, were you left standing, or did you have a place to rest? I don't have that answer for you. But I do know that there's only one way to get to where you're going to leave this world and really, on your last gasping breath, know that you did it. You're gonna feel that sense of, I did it. I did it my way, and I did it the right way at the same time. It wasn't just an ego thing. I lined up with truth, and I walked the path of victory. You don't know when that day is going to come, because it's not yours to decide. I mean, your life is eternally in Christ. You're forever existing with the Father. But when the dream does end, and it will, wouldn't it be nice if you could answer for your actions and be able to say, that not only did you walk in victory, experience the delicious, savoring flavor of all of the benefits of that, because you won't be left for wanting for anything. Lack has no place in the kingdom, so it can't show up in your life if you have kingdom consciousness. But not only that, wouldn't that be a legacy to leave? What if your legacy was not about just you and your family lineage, but your spiritual family, and finding your place with your spiritual family and finding heaven on earth right now? What if that became your legacy from this moment forward? It doesn't mean you have to join my ministry. It doesn't mean you have to follow me. But you do have to follow God. I follow God. You have to really understand that. And see, that's the beauty of what I learned with Lyme disease. I wasn't a prestigious doctor or anything like that, but I really did enjoy, a really good sense of quality of life until it was all taken away. And when it was taken away, I recognized the superficial facade of all these fake friendships and all of these, pursuits, these lusts of the flesh, more this, more that, more. And all of the gurus, the biggest thing I learned is all these gurus, not a single one of them, with very few exceptions, are going to be A, there to help you, B, offer anything of value to you, and C, you're going to see right through the whole illusion. And that day will come, whether you go through something like I did, or it's your final dress rehearsal here, and you got your last stage set, and this is your last moment, and you're going to come to the end. But there will come the time, and you will have to be accountable for how you lived, because this is a school, and you are here on assignment. And I really believe that angels surround you, and they're all just applauding every time that you do the right thing and you discover your true selves. And even in spite of when you do make a mistake, because we all do, through our flesh we do, you are forever forgiven and forever given grace to try again. How many mistakes have I made in my flesh? Every single day. Try again. Let's do a little better this time. What did you learn? Good. And then most importantly, What did you do today that left your scent on the world, if you will? Did you mark your territory? You should go mark your territory, is what I'm saying. Just get around and see. Very few will actually understand why I walk and do these talks. It is for me, selfishly speaking, yes. It could be for you if you find benefit in it. But ultimately, why do I do what I do? Because I can't think, if I had all the money in the world, and all of the tastes and lusts of the flesh that money could buy, and freedom, and you name it, what would I do differently? Nothing. This is what I would do. So what am I doing? Getting to know the Father and sharing whatever I'm learning. Well, how do you make a living doing that? Who said you're required to make a living? Wouldn't your Father be able to guide you in all of your steps? And if your passion is engineering or, law or, I don't know, biotech, whatever you like. Well, why not have fun with that too? But it's not more important than your walk with your Father. That's just a thing. And you may change the world in that area. You may be the best in the world in that area. That's great. But that's going to end. At some point, that's going to end. The legacy could live on forever. But at some point, you really do have to look at the priorities. And this is what I want to talk about, is that, first of all, when you look at people, don't look at them, look through them, and look through to see the qualities of good that are godly, and recognize that there is no evil and there is no good quality in any mortal. There's nothing good about a mortal. Mortals are cursed. That's the law of the flesh. That's sin. Don't look at mortality. Look at qualities of God that are emanating from that vessel that you think you see in front of you. And then you won't be offended, and you won't be stepping into judgment and falling into sin constantly. You can just kind of pass right through. And then you'll notice that people around you will also start to demonstrate more of God's qualities, and the whole area will change, and consciousness will raise, and you will be the light of the world by just doing that simple thing. Hi. You know how rare that is, to find anybody that won't look at you? Oh, I like this one. This one's a real successful one here. Don't like that one. His beard's too long. Too scruffy for me. Like, human reasoning is not going to get you anywhere worth celebrating. Let's put it that way. But if you can become that one rare person, that rare individualized consciousness of God, that's willing to walk in that pure awareness of non-judgment, you will be able to not only access the kingdom at will, on command, on demand, at will, but you will also be able to provide the space for all of the emanations around you to become filled by the light that you carry. So you will be just as Master Yahshua, walking into any venue you choose, and just because you happen to be there, that Holy Spirit connection that you contain begins to emanate within all creation. It begins to recognize its own voice, if you will, and you begin to resurrect. You begin to be, I am the resurrection in this environment, you see? And before you know it, you've just transformed your whole geographic area. Because everywhere you go, God is, and you know it. And one who knows is a majority. And I call that spiritual special forces. And it's so simple. It's the way that you win. It's the way that you defeat your impossible Goliath that surrounds you. The Prince of the Air has surrounded you with the electromagnetic prism, and yet all you ever had to do was come to know the Father and walk in truth, and victory was already given. And it's that simple. Doesn't have anything more that you have to do. If there were more to do, then I suppose we'd have a lot more to worry and fear about, but there isn't any more to do. That's it. That's all you got to do. You have to contain the light within yourself, and you have to walk through in non-judgment, seeing no person, place, condition, or circumstance, and only seeing through to the emanations of God that are coming to the surface as you begin to reflect what's in you out. And they call that devouring matter within yourself in the Nag Hammadi library. I don't know. There couldn't be an easier way to do it. See, some of the most complex problems in the world are the easiest to solve, and that's an anointing that I've been given. That was my prophetic word in 2007 when the sweet old lady looked at me and said I was a modern day Paul and I came to solve the unsolvable riddle. You know, she said I'd solved many of them after I went through tons of trials, which I did. And it's not like it's not like they're done all of a sudden. It's like, oh yeah, you're all done now. No, not really. You don't stop being tested ever. You just have to become more conscious, more aware, so that you don't take it personally. There's more to that than I just said. Don't take it personally. It means don't be a person. Be a reflection of God. Therefore, you don't let nothing attach to you, including this world. So chew on that for a few days.